Doris Agu, and I'm going to be presenting on theory of illness trajectory. Okay, so the theory of illness trajectory. The creators are Carolyn and Marilyn. Um, so basically, the trajectory of illness is driven by the illness experience lived within contexts that are inherently uncertain and involve both the self and others. The dynamic flow of life context, both biographical and sociological, creates a dynamic flow of uncertainties that take on different forms, meanings, and combinations when living with chronic illness. Thus, tolerating uncertainty is a critical theoretical strand in the illness trajectory theory. Major concepts and definitions dealing with this theory. First of all, Dodd's research is what spearheaded this theory. So it was designed to test self-care interventions and manage the side effects of cancer treatment and symptoms of pain and fatigue. So this was primarily used to target cancer patients' pain and fatigue. So they found that illness, particularly cancer, disrupts the usual or everyday conception of self and is compounded by the perceived actions and reaction of others in the sociological context of life. This disruption permeates the interdependent elements of biography: identity, temporality, and body. This disruption or sense of disequilibrium is marked by a sense of loss of control resulting in states of uncertainty. So continue with the major concepts and definitions that have to do with this theory. First, we have temporality. So this is a biographical time reflected in the continuous flow of the life course events. It has to do with perceptions of the past, present, and possible future interwoven into the conception of self. Then we have identity, which I should have done first, is the conception of self at a given time that unifies multiple aspects of self and is situated in the body. And then we have body finally, which has to do with activities of life derived from perceptions based in the body. So what is the goal and what is the overall general feel of this theory? So Carolyn and Marilyn theory of illness trajectory was developed to address the idea of illness disrupting one's life. Illness as a phenomenon affects individuals' socialization, physiological functioning, and self-conceptualization. The theory of illness trajectory addresses these theoretical pitfalls by framing phenomenons within a sociological perspective of a trajectory that emphasizes the experience of disruption related to illness. This theory uses patient-centered care to interject and assist patients with identifying and expressing their feelings of hopelessness, uncertainty, which would be due to their chronic illness. When patients feel in control, they are more willing to navigate and take control of their illnesses that disrupt their lives. Giving patients the opportunity to self-identify what they need to heal, as well as identifying what is blocking them from reaching their full functioning potential is critical in patients' healing process. So what would our role as clinicians be? This theory provides a framework for understanding of how patients tolerate uncertainty manifested by a loss of control. The theory also helps clinicians interpret these behaviors and intervene appropriately to help ease the transition across the trajectory and make the patient's experience throughout the trajectory a more positive one. So a statement made by the creators of this theory says the uncertainty surrounding a chronic illness like cancer is the uncertainty of life. By listening to those who are tolerating this exaggerated uncertainty, we can learn much about the trajectory of living in general. There are many emotional fluctuations a person feels when dealing with a chronic illness. Support and encouragement from loved ones and nurses are a critical part of the process. The key to the theory of illness trajectory is to always consider what the patient is going through and how to make the process of dealing with an illness as least disruptive as possible. Dealing with the uncertainty of illness can be challenging for a patient. The theory of illness trajectory helps nurses interpret how the patient is feeling to better equip them with resources to intervene and assist them with making the transition as easy as possible. Patients and nurses' communication is vital in this theory, as well as incorporating the families into the patient's plan of care overall. Here are my references, and that is the end of my presentation.